And here we are loading into Cloud Kingdom. The anticipation screen is up. And yeah, you're right. As far as the BWC standings go, Parting is a great player. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I wouldn't have expected that he and Creator were going to be the ones that were fighting it out for the finals, especially with the names that were there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Hero made top 8, of course.
Yes.
Almost made it 4 Korean Protosses in the top 4. But let's go ahead and do the intros here.
Take it away, sir.
All right. At the top right-hand side of WCS Cloud Kingdom, we do have our blue Zerg player going for that mass merge strategy in the last game. We do have GL's Snute. And at the bottom left, spawning in is the red Zerg from Korea. It's going to be Star Tail Life, currently up 1-0, getting those infestors out a little bit faster than his opponent, managing to hold that counter.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm so excited for the future of this guy, too. He's so young. Yeah. He's already won GSL championships. He's already won an MLG championship. I mean, this guy, what else can you ask for him at this stage? Well, maybe you can ask for a 10 pool, I guess. So I'm going to stop talking about the future of this guy and how good he could possibly be and start talking about the fact that Snute is going to be under some serious pressure in a second.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a pretty nice time to cheese, I guess. He's up a game. He's got a game to not throw away, per se, but definitely a game to go with here and try to get a lucky, kind of gimmicky win, if you will. But we'll have to see if he follows this up with anything crazy. A double extractor trick to get 2 more drones out here, and we're going to need to see an Overlord start in just a sec. I don't know if he's going to have enough larvae for 3 Zerglings. So.
No, I think it's only going to be 4, and then he'll follow it up with more after that, is what it seems like. Getting that extra drone out there, as you mentioned, is going to help his economy. So he's clearly, I mean, this is probably going to be make 8 links, put on pressure, try and deny a pool or something like that. Or deny a hatchery, I apologize. But Snute always goes pool first. Except for the one game he didn't, and I don't want to talk about that earlier on. But anyway, he does, though. He always goes pool first. He always goes into roaches. That's just his strategy. It's what works for him. He will occasionally cheese every now and again, throw in a 10 pool here just to mess things up a bit. But he is going to have Zerglings prepared by the time that these make their way across the map.
Yeah, you know, we've seen a few early pools in this tournament thus far, but this one seems the most surprising, you know, knowing that it is a ZVZ on a 2-player map. You know, pool hatch is the standard opening on a 2-player map like this. So we'll have to see how well Snute can hold this off. A queen is in production for life, and he's actually not making any more Zerglings at the moment. He's making 300 minerals, so he's going to expand off of this.
All right. Well, we'll see what Life ends up following this up with. Of course, like we said, he's going to do a little, or try to do a little bit of damage here, but now is kind of the issue. Oh, man, this is almost an exact repeat of the game we saw Snute play before. I feel like I'm in deja vu mode now. So he's pulling some drones off the line. He's holding this exactly the same way we saw last time. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of lost mining time here, but Snute is going to have plenty to deal with these Zerglings that pop out.
Yeah, and Life did 10 pool, so he is at a slightly economic disadvantage. So this drone pool is definitely helping him. Let's see how good the micro of Snute is here on his drones. Did he lose one there? I think he might have lost one.
Take a look. Yeah, 1 worker killed, but still, you've got to do at least a few workers worth of damage for that to make it worth it.
Yeah, you do get your queen out very quickly with a 10 pool, though, so it's actually not all that uneconomical if you don't make too many Zerglings like Life did. So we'll have to see how this game plays out from here, as Life obviously is going to take this to a macro game.
Well, it's 15 workers to 18 in favor of Life now. He has a few less Zerglings out on the map, but of course his hatchery is quite a bit delayed, and already we can see that Snute's going to be starting injects over here at the natural, with queens number 2 and 3 popping up in just a moment.
Yeah, wait, I'm sorry, do we have 2 queens or 3 queens coming?
Oh, my apologies, it is just 1 queen. Okay. Usually, Snute's strategy is usually just to go for the 3 queen build, but you're right, he is only going for the 2 queens now.
Yeah, and I think that might have to do with the drone pull a little bit earlier here, not having enough resources to make that 3rd queen. And if he does decide to go for this gasless strategy again, that 3rd and 4th queen are very, very important. You know, you want to have those transfuses. You want to be able to have that extra DPS with the tankiness to really hold this off. And he's actually going for a spine crawler to add defense. Oh, maybe not.
All right. A spine crawler trick. No, I'm joking. So Life is the kind of player who will jump for mutas out of this, too. He'll decide that, okay, 10 pool didn't do too much damage, but found some sort of equity. Let's go ahead and go for a Spire. And that does tend to pretty hard counter a lot of what Snute wants to do. And, Snute, that's, okay, so this is why he's going to make 1,000,000 Zerglings. He's actually going to go for a Slewling. Maybe it'll be an all-in. We'll find out here. If he starts another round of links after this, then definitely.
Yeah, I think he might be extractor tricking here for additional links, because he did get a little bit supply blocked here. No, he's making more drones now. Okay. Wow, interesting. And these two gases, one's going to be in the main, one's going to be in the natural, so Life is not going to know exactly how much gas income Snoot's going to have. And actually, the Overlord is going to see this. It didn't get killed off by the Queen, so a little bit unfortunate for Snute. Let's see how Life responds here. A Baneling Nest and Spinecrawler do go down immediately. Only has 7 Lings on the field, 6 more in production. And that Spinecrawler is going to be the crux of his defense with his Queens at the ramp.
26 Lings to 7 now. He's got a couple Queens here already making a wall, but you're right. If he can get that Spinecrawler up, then he is more than fine. But if Snute can do some damage before then, things are going to be much, much different.
Wow, great block by Life in the exact location where he needed to have his Zerglings. And, losing a couple of drones here. This is a lot of Zerglings, and I'm not sure Life's going to have quite enough to break through this. It looks like his Spinecrawler is living, though, and really good micro by Life, not losing a lot of stuff.
No, he hasn't lost that many drones, and now he has enough Zerglings to be able to push this away. Wow. So the entire attack killed one worker through all of that, and Life holds magnificently.
That is amazing. Can you check the units lost tab for me? And
of
take a look
course.
at the resources. Oh, it's actually not that bad for Snute here, but of course he did make those Zerglings as opposed to drones earlier, so Life had a little bit of extra income coming in. And the supply is 53 to 53. No. Oh, I don't actually know what the tech is, sorry.
Oh, it's, well, in the end, Snute is, despite the fact that he delayed his third Queen, is there one on the way? Yeah, okay, so he's eventually going to put up his third Queen, because usually he has creep spread a little bit out, so it gives him a bit more flexibility to take an earlier third base. He is still going to have his Roachhorn, he has his Evolution Chamber, no Baneling Nest for him, and this actually ended up working out okay for him, because his opponent, even though he put up the Baneling Nest, the Slowling attack came in at such a time that it really wasn't worth it afterwards to make a big Baneling push.
Yeah, all right, well, Snute does have a nice wall off. The Zerglings are poking in at the front here, and it looks like, Snute might be going for those fast upgrades again. He's only got 1 Evo Chamber this time, as opposed to last game where he went for those double Evo Chambers, and that unfortunately did not pay off for him. And Life is taking a third and going for that Roachhorn a little bit later, so playing a much more economic game after that kind of failed attack from Snute.
Okay, well, Queens are sitting here up at the front, and Snute already is starting to buffer up that Roach count. He's not taking a third base. It's a real advantage now, as Life knows that he can't really crack that nut, so he's going to try and find an advantage wherever he can. If he can't do damage, well, he's going to get economically ahead and put up a hatchery of his own, because he does have, admittedly, pretty good map control at the moment with these Lings.
Yeah, Snute, of course, without that Zergling speed again, I think, like you said, loves to open roaches, and that's exactly what we're seeing out of him. Third base up for Snute now, or sorry, starting for Snute now, and Life does see it, so he knows that there's a third base on the way, and knows that he can probably make a few more drones, and might go for a little bit of two-pronged aggression to kind of distract Snute for a sec here when that Queen goes for an inject.
Yeah, could very well. We'll see what ends up following with this up here in a second, though. Snute is going to have a nice time because his Evolution Chamber hasn't been threatened, where he has that +1, where he has a good number of roaches out there, already 20, with 5 more on the way, now 8 more on the way. And he can start to do some damage. And he will, actually, this could end up being a decent timing for him, because now we see the investment into an infestation pit for Life, too. So he's going to be banking resources a bit. He wants to make sure that he has enough roaches out to stay defensive, but he's obviously not planning to do damage with them right now. So there is a potential for Snute to move out and get a little pressure in.
Yeah, luckily for Life, his +1 is going to finish on his roaches if Snute does decide to commit to this attack. And he does start +2. That infestation pit, of course, not going to be done in time for this particular attack if Snute does follow through. And he's actually got some roaches over by his third, I think, so I don't think he's fully committing to this to make sure that his third doesn't get picked off. So, yeah, I think he's just trying to force some roaches out.
And he was a little bit slow if he wanted to put on a ton of pressure anyway, and this may have been just to, once again, establish map dominance and then take map control there, as he did actually move out a little bit slower after his +1 for his opponent had finished up, so Life was on equal upgrades, and it would have been a lot more difficult to attack into this, especially with Defender's Advantage. With Pathogen Glance on the way, though, Life is going to have these Infestors, or the potential for Infestors out a little bit earlier, but he's not been able to bank that much gas. He's only going to have enough for 1 Infestor right now.
Yeah, and that's actually a little bit surprising. Normally we see that 5th and 6th gas get taken very quickly, but I guess Life is playing a little bit defensively, making sure he has that roach count available to be made at any point in time. And yeah, I kind of like that, because Snute, obviously, his infestation pit is just as far behind.
All right, well, he's got his own Pathogen Glands on the way, and in 13 seconds he can start what's likely to be 4 Infestors here if he can get up to that 600 gas count. So he's actually going to be in a pretty good spot.
And 11 drones get started for Snute, so he sees the roach count of Life and feels very, very confident in his ability to hold any kind of attack. And of course, he is 10 roaches ahead at this point, so that is actually going to give him a almost 15 drone lead, and that is actually a big deal considering we're going to get into the more tech-heavy stages of this game where we see Infestors and Hydras and stuff like that come out.
Yeah, 73 drones to 61. 61 now. It's going to be 65 here, 66 in a second. So Life certainly going to be getting closer to that economy. And if we get to a situation where both players are maxed out, they have relatively even upgrades, it will give Life a small advantage in overall army count, but he'll have a little bit worse ability to reproduce his army afterwards.
Indeed. All right, so the infestor count looks like he's going to be around 3 to 6 in Snute's favor, and he does have a roach advantage as well, and a slight upgrade lead by about 30 seconds here. So yeah. Snute actually looking really good right now, starting his 4th base actually before Life did. No, Life starting a macro hatch, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's actually up inside of the main. Snute does not have a macro hatch of his own yet, although I would assume that we'd see something like that pretty soon, especially with the Hydralisk coming up. Those are pretty cheap units, so he'll want to be able to pump out as many as he can eventually.
All right, well, +2 has finished for Snute here. It looks like he doesn't want to hit any kind of timing as he is sitting back at his 4th base with a lot of his roaches, using changelings just to kind of scout around, check out Life, make sure he's not going for a really fast hive or any kind of hive tech that he's not going to be ready for. He does see that it's a lair, and he sees the macro hatch, so he should feel pretty confident at this point. Snute getting caught out on the map a little bit, going to lose a few roaches, but at this point in the game, he is looking to kind of remake hydras and stuff instead of those roaches, so kind of trading some units out here.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. So now he's going to have groove spines, he's going to have 10 hydras, so the DPS of his army is going to be quite good. He is actually slipping just a bit behind in upgrades. He's not started his +1 carapace, so that's not going to be a factor for another about 2 or 3 minutes in game, but it could become something later on. And Life is actually going to go for this. He actually gets caught here in between 2 armies, so the positioning for Snute is not bad. Oh, but look at the fungal actually locking down the units on the bottom, and the fungals did actually hit first for Life, but now these infestors are being fungled over and over again, and Snute is going to successfully take all of those out.
So much gas going down for Life there, and Snute taking a real big advantage in this game, and you know, that +1 armor is going to be such a big deal for Life, not so much for Snute because of the Hydralisk. The Hydralisk do DPS, not the spike damage that the roaches do, so a Queen going down is really going to cut into the production of Snute, especially for the cost of like 5 lings, but at the 4th base of Life, it looks like we do have a number of roaches coming down, and good fungals from Life might be able to hold this off here.
Yeah, but the fungals are coming back in for Snute now, who is dropping down a lot of infested Terrans, even though the ones are popping up for his opponent. First Life, Snute does have a few additional ones, and he's able to clean that out eventually. He's not been the most cost-effective with all of his units, though, and Snute now does have to retreat. If you would get any of these units caught out, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, he is going to lose a couple of infestors here. He's going to use infested Terrans to try to wall off and keep those roaches going around, but every infestor he loses here is such a big deal. Those Hydras staying back to try to force Life to engage them instead. Does work a little bit. He did lose about 3 infestors running away there, though, and that's a really big deal. The supply is now 156 to 168 in Snute's favor as he takes center control again, and look at it. He's got 8 gases going here. Does he have a hive?
He does not have hive to the best of my knowledge. No. Okay, still layer tech. So with 10 more Hydras coming out, again, the DPS of his army is going to be pretty great, but he kind of runs the risk of having his roach buffer melt a little bit too quickly, and then the Hydras get exposed, and that could be an issue for him afterwards. But, you know, Life had some pressure put on this base. You can see that the gas are just now queued up, so it's going to be a long time before he's able to get that in effect.
And it looks like we have a little bit of a Zergling counterattack, taking out another Queen of Snute, and these are actually being really effective. I mean, every time you can lower your opponent's larva count, especially when you don't have a macro hatch in your main, this could be such a big deal coming into the late game when you want to remax as quickly as possible, and Snute's just having to remake those Queens, re-hockey them, just extra APM that, you know, you're throwing lings away for is really not a big deal on Life's side.
But Snute now does have a bunch of gas banked up, and he's actually getting to the point where he's banking larvae, he's banking gas, he's banking minerals. He should start to think about pushing in engagements. Now, he is very far behind in upgrades now. We mentioned that there was the potential time when that upgrade carapace disadvantage would come into play, and that time is now. Yeah. He's down by 1 upgrade. He's trying to catch up on that, and he is actually going over to Hive Tech now.
Okay. Well, the Hydralisks for Snute are going to be pretty much way less effective here, as Life does have that +1 armor like you were talking about. He has started +2, and looks like we have a huge engagement on the ramp as Snute gets a huge flank from the left-hand side as well, and these Hydras could end up being the difference maker in this battle, Kevin.
Yeah, the Hydras haven't been touched so far, and they've just been dishing out a ton of damage the entire time. So there's the burrow above. Is there an Overseer? There is, and Life loses most of his forces as he runs away. That is a huge win there for Snute. He's got to watch out because he's not attacking with all of his forces, and he doesn't want to get him caught out piecemeal right now, but if he attacks with everything, then he is going to be more than fine.
Wow, Snute taking a 40 supply lead here, pushing up into the 3rd base of Life. Could kill off a lot of the mining here, as it is only 4 bases to 4 bases. And yeah, drone's being pulled for life at this point, and I think that Snute might actually take game number 2 here.
It looks like it. He is going to be the one Zerg player that can actually tie things up against him. He has to retreat with these very valuable Hydras to make sure that he gets them to the back, but the roach reinforcements are going to be quite a bit. Life drops down one Infested Terran up in the front too, as if just to say, aha, I can do that too. But it's not alone going to be enough.
All right, well, Snute needs to win this battle, because if he doesn't, well, it looks like he is going to. If he doesn't, that 4th base would have lived, and there's the GG from Life. So Snute tying it up 1-1. Wow, what a fantastic game.
Yeah.